Welcome to the Golden Feather. Grab a pint, a plate, and pick your seats. Your hosts Vertek and Chibi are back from their latest adventure.
Hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Golden Feather, and thank you PGN for the raid, and welcome all you raiders. Nice to see you here. And Karthos, yes, you are back by unpopular demand. We love you and hate you all the same, but mainly just love you. But we're here today with episode 135 on the 19th of August, 2022. Made it so far. This episode is called Let's Go Ham, because we have Ham on Gaming, aka Hamlet, with us. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. Excited to be here. I haven't done a podcast in years, so this is something old but new again.
Hey, old becomes new becomes old, right?
Oh.
Uh-oh.
I may have borrowed the Twitter link and in return may have broken said Twitter link.
Good
Ham
job.
on Games.
And,
but that's his handle on his name. Ham on Games. There you go.
Yeah, I just
yeah.
Thank you.
And as if on cue, so this is Chibi. How are you today?
A mess. I am a mess.
A mess.
But yes, pretty good. Glad to see you guys back. Is this guy from the real Jurassic Park? I mean, I don't know. Are you?
Maybe in another life. I've never been there.
See,
Someday,
I don't know if you can tell.
I would.
Yeah, I don't know if you can tell, but he's on the green screen right now because he can't share the secret dino lab he's in at this current moment.
There you go.
Yep.
So, you know, just hope and pray, cross your fingers for the green screen to fail, and you'll see some secrets, you know, hidden stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
speaking of hidden stuff,
we
we are getting better at our templates. So as some of you may have noticed, if you saw our Twitter tweets, we officially have decided to organize things by 2 topics and then random. So that'll go much smoother going forward when we go to like YouTube afterwards with the little, for the replay crew with the clicking and seeing what we're talking about. So the 2 topics we have today are quality of life / accessibility and game mechanics and some random topics. But I really quickly wanted to present to you a question of the day. And the question of the day is, what is one quality of life item you love from MMOs? So let us know. But first, I think we're all wondering the same thing. Who is this person that is in a secret dino lab? His green screen seems to have failed.
Oh no, green screen fail. Hide it all. Hide it all.
I've just broken some NDA.
Oh
no. See, I'm Hamlet. You know, I'm just a gamer. I didn't want to call myself a content creator because I dabble once for a couple weeks, every so often, once or twice a year, and then decide that I got other things in life that are more important. But I've been a fan of Ashes since the beginning. I have an original Kickstarter package. You know, I recognize some of these names in chat, like Karthos. I'm pretty sure I've talked to you in the Discord. And yeah, I mean, I'm just excited to be here, talk about Ashes, and just games in general. Big passion of mine.
Absolutely. Sorry,
all right,
I'm trying to get the bot back up unless you got it up for me.
I can get it.
Okay.
Let's see. Well, then tell us. What? Oh no, then you're Amy probably. Not much, just a little. You know, there's always got to be a little hate spice in there. But so tell us what attracted you to Ashes? What's the big draw for you? And what remains the big draw? Has it changed, or is it still the same kind of thing that really made you like tip full on into Ashes? So
I've been playing MMOs since, I don't know, like 6th grade. Me and my buddy used to have our sixth grade teacher used to always tell stories about him and his best friend playing EverQuest, and it became these like huge fantastical stories. And when we tried to play it, like, all right, this is cool. Not quite what like the stories he would tell us, but that kind of started my addiction into MMOs back when I was in about sixth grade. So I don't know if I should thank that teacher or hate that teacher, but I've been playing MMOs since EverQuest. I played pretty much everything since then. EverQuest 2, WoW, I could probably name here for 20 hours, so we won't do that. So what really attracted me to Ashes was the whole node system, creating something new. What I did like about it too is that it's kind of going back to the roots of not being made by necessarily like, a pro in the industry. Like Steven is just some guy who wants to make a game, and, he's fortunate enough to have a lot of money and start his own studio. And I think that's, some of the best games in our history when it comes to like MMOs were created that way. I may be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure like WoW was, the guys who created WoW when they first started, I think one was a dentist, one was the engineer. The guys who did it, they weren't like game developers when they first started making like, actually no, I think it was EverQuest. The guys who wanted to do EverQuest were making a new MMO, and they were just some random dudes who decided, let's make a game. Still stuck to it, even to this day. I think that every update gets better and better. I like seeing the progress. And in general, like I'm not the hardest guy to please. Like I try to be level-headed, so I see the stuff. I see the live streams, and I try to think the best for it. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, makes sense. Honestly, I feel like that's where a lot of our games came from, right? It's just people being bored and wanting something interesting to do. Look at D&D, Pathfinder, Warhammer 40K, all these games. Like they had to come up from someone, right? And I think it's cool that we do have game developers, but before there was ever an actual game developer, it was just a random person just messing around and just trying to see what they can do with some code. I think that's really cool just to see how far we've come. But my favorite part of asking our guests, especially people we haven't had on very much. No, goodness. Z, stop it. I'm wearing a shirt. Gosh. Anyway, bad Z. What is your favorite part of Ashes? Like, what is like one thing that you feel like Ashes really sets us like apart from everything else?
I think the idea of having a world that evolves differently on each server, right? So depending on what your particular server does when it comes to what nodes you guys, what guilds go for which nodes, the history of every server is going to have its own history. And I think that's going to lead to some really interesting stories on the line where you see the history of XYZ server. I'm sure that people out there are going to make videos of, what happened on server A versus B, what was different because of it. So I think that being able to go into it, not really knowing what to expect, and, end of the day, like it's a game and we're all going to know. Everyone's going to try to meta game and figure out the best node to go for, but there's still going to be guilds that are going to go out there and level certain nodes that people wouldn't think of and create some new events and create a different world than what some other random guy on a different server is playing.
Yeah. I think that's going to be really awesome too. And that's actually one of the topics that I picked out. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of random topics, I just want to draw attention so that everyone can see. Let it be shown that Captain Redbeard's favorite quality of life feature is the group finders.
Mm-hmm.
If we get one in game, you'll know who to blame.
And I'm okay with group finders. I think group finders are not a bad thing if you limit them to the server they're on. Like I think when you start doing cross server group finders, then you may have some issues where you're really kind of diluting your audience. But like, end of the day, like sometimes I just want to hop on, and do a dungeon or two before I go to bed, and going into LFG chat if my friends aren't online kind of sucks.
Taken out of context.
No context needed. Objection hearsay.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This is your number one trusted source, Vera News Network. Absolutely. By the way, guys, I added the, I guess, highlight commands. So our guest, and then also our new thing, question of the day. I made that a command as well. So if you want to note the question of the day, there you go. Yay. Chibi did things.
Cuarta. I think it's Spanish.
So I think we should head into our first topic, which is quality of life and accessibility. And I put these together because some of the things that people were requesting for quality of life features actually also fell underneath the accessibility features as well. So, for example, this one, my one quality of life request somebody had on the forums was that they'd love to be able to scale up all font because their eyesight is pretty bad, and they hope that there's good accessibility settings. And Vaknar, who is newer to their staff, immediately jumped on that and was like, well, what else would you like for accessibility? But I think also it's really good because Basque, I think is what their name is, was making a good point, especially for the larger screens these days. You'd have to put your font at 150% because a 4K monitor playing a 1080 game or something, the font is really small. I've experienced that at least with Final Fantasy 14 recently. Free drinks. But what do you guys think?
I would personally have to say that's a solid one that should be there, because just be able to change all the height of all the font. Mainly just because sometimes I think the font is way too big, and I'm one of those people where I need all the information on my screen. Everything I can get on there, I need it on there. Mainly because tank, and I need to know what's going on with everybody at all times, so I know what to do. And or how to react to something. If all my range are taking damage, I need to maybe step away from them, but I need to be able to see all the range taking damage.
Yeah, I think you definitely get into those even when you get into ultra wides, because I've seen some games with ultra wides that you have them, your health bar is way over here in Timbuktu on the left, and you can't move it, so it's hard to see what's going on because it's way over there. And so I think definitely being able to move every aspect of a UI is super important.
Carthos, I will not do that.
Ritik, are you the guy who gets all of your stuff right in the middle of the screen, so you just see your character and all of your nameplates from your whole guild around it, and you can't see anything else?
No, see, I put everything quote unquote in its proper place. Up in the very top right, I always have the map. I always have the compass and any kind of directional indicators that I need to not have at an exact moment's notice, but I always want to have available over there. And then party raid frames are always just off to the right side, 3/4 up here. And usually if there's any kind of cooldown type stuff or debuff stuff, I try and keep it right on my character, if at all possible. Because, it's more closely to an immersive thing, right? If you're getting debuffed by something, you would feel it, you would know it. That'd be the most intimate knowledge you could have of the entire battlefield. Yeah, I got thorns wrapped around my leg. I can't move. Obviously, I can see that the easiest. And then I always tend to try to put the boss bar right in the middle up top, and then my own in the middle on the bottom. But everything else just kind of goes wherever makes sense.
That makes sense. I personally love, as much as I love was it LVUI for WoW? I love that Intrepid is bent on trying to make it so that you don't need an external thing necessarily to make your gameplay look the way that you would like with the UI. And I'm interested in seeing how far that's able to go, which is why I think they're trying to get as much information on what people want as possible. But I feel like there's still going to be some things where they won't be able to do it. But I saw someone on the forums or Reddit or a mixture thereof saying, lately they haven't been showing much of the UI. And I think it's because they're working on it and they don't want the unfinished UI to be like a focal point necessarily. But I guess through the iterations, I have been enjoying seeing it get better and better as they redesign the UI and make it a little bit easier.
Yeah. Yeah. You see, Karthos, I'm kind of almost the exact opposite. I like to make sure that I pick up absolutely everything. I just need my, when visiting a vendor, dump all my trash onto the counter checkbox. So that when I'm out in the field, I can pick up literally everything and only drop trash when I need the extra space to carry something valuable. And then when I get to the vendor, I can just say, here, what will you give me for all of this? I don't care how much, just give me something for it. Give me $1 for carrying it across the desert. I'm fine.
I could imagine you just being the guy who walks up to the stall and just like grabs your bag, swings it over, tosses it all out. You got like fish bones in there and just take it.
One silver for everything.
Yep, go to the pawn shop and I'm dropping out the half-used matchbook on the countertop because I just turned my pocket inside out.
Right.
Talk about quality of life things. One thing that I kind of think a lot of games don't do is being able to set alerts when like specific friends hop on. You see it a lot now in some games, but like maybe for alts, right? Sometimes, you have your friends who just log on and don't necessarily want to just feeling a certain kind of way. And then they hop on and out and then it'd be nice to know, hey, dude, like, you want to do something? Gotta e-stock your best friends.
E-stock. Right. I see that though. Definitely.
That and honestly, even if you're just waiting for certain people to come on so you can do a dungeon or something, and you maybe it's somebody who always needs reminding, like, hey, by the way, we were supposed to do this today. So, you can have your friends list that you can always just hit up real easily and chat with and see when they come online by opening a menu, but there's a few that you just check mark real quick, like when they come online, I need to know. Like, we got to go do this thing before it expires.
Overthrow in chat made a good point with the WoW UI. That's kind of required to... They designed it in a way that kind of required you to use add-ons, but pretty much all of the game, right? Even when it comes to PvE content. And I think that's one of the things where like, you hear arguments for both sides when it comes to add-ons. And I personally, I like add-ons, being able to customize it. I just don't like when developers decide to design the game around the fact that people will make add-ons to solve issues that they should have solved on themselves. Like they should be part of the base UI.
Yeah.
See, I am so much like, I don't even know. I'm wishy-washy when it comes to add-ons because, for one, there are many add-ons that were created by random people that play the game that developers turned into a UI feature because they either hadn't thought of it or they didn't execute it nearly as well. And now they're like, hey, you mind if we, use that? Or they come up with something very similar that's still different enough to be called, their idea. Because there's that. But then there's also, if a developer can put every tool in there to make it so that I feel like I can adjust anything I need to and anything I want to, specifically, maybe I don't need to change that, but it just kind of makes my spine twitch a little bit that it's not movable, then I'll be fine. But then comes you have to have add-ons in order to be competitive in a raid. It's going to be the same complaint when it comes to a developer putting too many tools in to adjust your UI. It's like having all those add-ons again. So now you have to adjust all those add-ons to be competitive in a raid, right? Yeah. Or all those, not add-ons, but all those built-in features.
I think one quality of life thing I liked that World of Warcraft did was being able to add somebody account-wide or just on the character. So, like having your close friends who you want to be able to see you on no matter what alt you're on are able to see like, oh, you're on this alt, you're on that alt. And then having your in-game friends only added on your whatever character you want them to add you on. I kind of liked that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Log
also,
in.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just reading the chat. Talking about reading Karthos, about logging in hidden in ashes. So like show us offline to friends and guildies. I like that idea because sometimes you don't want to do anything with anybody. You just want to get on and like, I don't know, push through. Yeah, good point, Hamlet's good point. Push through like just some like crafting or something.
Sometimes I'm just really into this episode of Sex and the City and I really need to complete it, but I also want a game. So, you know, I think that's how that show works, right? Like people like to watch it like and binge it or something. Oh,
that was oddly specific.
Yeah. But no, like sometimes I want to watch random TV and just kind of meh, but at the same time I'm going brain dead purposely. I can do something else with my hands and go gathering. I don't want to be bothered. I just want to sit here and watch my movie or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Interesting that you chose to ask about or think about doing something with your hands while watching Sex in the City.
Poor choice of words.
I was trying to ignore that one.
Womp, womp, womp.
Oh my word. I am so glad we were flagged as mature. Oh my word. You know, I've never seen a single episode, so I have no idea what you guys are talking about. I'm just gonna move on to the next one.
Yeah, I've seen an advertisement for it, and that's about it.
Oh my
Next. Gosh. What you got for us? Are we still doing phrasing? Is phrasing not a thing? Love me some Archer.
There's a video by u/bad-cuz-dad. And they were doing a Guild Wars 2 versus Ashes kind of thing. And so there's the video to it directly. But they're essentially talking about like how Guild Wars 2 is like essentially spoiled the MMO people that play it with their quality of life features. So they're wondering if maybe Ashes might be lacking in that. I know we're very early in that, but I think they pointed out a few things that they liked within that. Just another thing on the topic to throw out there to give another content creator just some attention as well, especially because I think they're newer to making content. So wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I think I started up as an influence, like a month and a half ago, something like that. 2 months, roughly.
Yeah, I definitely have that one on my my to watch list, but I haven't got around to watching it yet.
Yeah. Mainly putting it out there as like a content creator on the subject, content creator video for people to go check out maybe after this or, whenever you have time. Just an honorable mention, I guess.
Yeah.
I myself haven't played too many Guild Wars 2, but Vertec has been super into it. So you've played Alpha 1 and you've played Guild Wars 2. What are your thoughts?
The thing about Guild Wars 2 is that it's very much built for casuals. In every way, shape, and form. Very much built for casuals. But it's also got some more difficult stuff for the more hardcore people. I wouldn't necessarily say anything I've seen is like ultra mega, oh my gosh, I'm going to beat my head against a wall for 9 weeks in a row before I kill this boss type of thing. But yeah, everything is built around casuals. Like the quality of life features in there and ease of life are just insane. Like you get to a specific level fairly quick and then you just don't level anymore for like just 79 expansions. You just don't level anymore. You expand like horizontally. You do horizontal progression for the rest of the time there, exploring new areas and whatnot like that, which is, for one, super casual friendly, but for two, even the hardcore players are still earning something. So that I could almost say is a bigger feature than just quality of life, but it's something that I actually enjoyed about it. You didn't have to feel like you were falling behind all the time. If you did need to take like a quick couple weeks or a month or two break just because you're getting burnt out and you want to come back to it, you're not going to quote unquote like lose your place in the game and whatever. You come back and just pick it right up.
I think it's one of the topics that's people are pretty split on. And even myself, like when Guild Wars 2 first came out, that was one of my biggest like complaints about it was just the lack of vertical progression. You know, like I like being able to do new or harder content and getting new or better gear. But like, you know, fast forward to now, you know, a father with 2 toddlers and life. And like, you know, I kind of like that because you're right, you don't fall behind. And that's something that I think Guild Wars 2 does really well when it comes to their PvP, the fact that they have structured PvP. It makes it so that you can really jump in and everyone's kind of on an equal footing. You know, this is going to be my hot take, but I think that more PvP should be structured so that it really comes down to skill expression. Who is better versus who, you know, who's put in more time. I don't mind losing if some guy beats me because he's better than me, but because he put in an extra 100 hours than I did because, you know, he was able to, then that's where it kind of for me is like, well, that kind of sucks.
Right.
Maybe it's a little bit casual of me, but I don't know.
Honestly, I'm not really into PvP myself. I'm not like big on that, but that's also because I played healer a lot. So, you know, who gets attacked first? Usually the healer. So I kind of, I guess in my older wisdom, put it on myself with going into it. I'm now more prepared to expect people to probably target me. So it's probably going to be different. But when we were playing, what was it, Elion or something? With our guild, we were testing one of the new things that came out. And I enjoyed having a group of people that I was playing with in PvP in that kind of structured, like capture the flag kind of thing. I really actually enjoyed that a lot more because I had other people to play with that I knew. And also I didn't feel like I was alone and just fending for myself. So like, I think the structure and the group of people to play along with both combined made me feel a bit happier, I guess, with PvP in general. Because usually with World of Warcraft, I just like, I don't know. The thing that killed PvP for me was the Outlands area where PvP was forced, and then people would come and just like, oh look, it's a noob, and then constantly like kill you. And so you couldn't do anything. So yeah, I get frustrated with that really badly. But I think seeing like castle sieges, that sounds like something that's going to be structured. So that sounds like a fun thing. And also, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, they had said that there was supposed to be things that other people who weren't necessarily interested in fighting could help with, like crafting wise and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's supposed to be like providing supplies and carrying things from one area to another and repairing stuff, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And
To quote Steven, crafters make the best shit. You know. And I think it's gonna be really important in Ashes. Too many games now make crafting. They have a crafting system for the sake of having a crafting system, but there isn't really any value to that anymore. They're just like, you make some stuff and eventually you don't need it. It might be useful in the beginning, but being able to, you know, have all the good stuff made by crafters is going to have people dedicated to the guild who are like, dude, I don't even want to go out there and PvP. All I want to do is make some really cool shit for you guys, and you guys go out there and, you know, are fighting with the stuff that I was able to make you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
yeah, see, so many games, like along that vein real quick, like so many games end up having such a crap tier crafting system. It almost feels like somebody senior came on the team 3/4 of the way through development and they're like, all right, cool, so I'm excited to work on crafting stuff. What do you guys got going? And everyone else on the team looked at each other and were like, yeah, the crafting system. We actually just scrapped it because it wasn't working well. It's totally yours now. Go for it. Do something with it.
Yeah.
And they just throw something together real quick.
Yeah. I mean, for some games I've played, the crafting just seemed like useless after a period of time.
Like after level 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's more common than it should be.
Yeah. Oops, that should not be there.
Because by the time you just by just playing the game, you get to a point where you can craft something. You're already like 7 levels above it.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't do you any good, except to level your crafting, and then you get to max level. And the second dungeon you complete gets you outfitted with gear that's way better than anything you can craft.
Yeah.
So yeah. The fact that the crafters are going to make the best shit makes me excited. Because I'm always disappointed by crafting and I never play it because it's always crap.
Yeah. I guess speaking of like crafting and stuff with fighting, I know so a little bit slightly off topic, they finally seems like they fixed the bows and everything with Archer and stuff. So we had seen that they're talking about potentially sharing more of that in September. But with the attacks and everything being flashy, some people have actually been worried about, epilepsy and stuff like that, if there's ways to turn down the flashiness of the graphics. I think they fixed the bows. Don't quote me on that. They put it in a video. And I don't think they would have put it in a video if they hadn't fixed it, because during Alpha 1 and previous to Alpha 1, bows were a no-go. You don't touch the bows.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if you've seen the most recent little mini clip video, but bows are basically a nuclear weapon now. You saw it take out that guy in one shot, one kill. And he was done.
Maybe he was like a level 1 who had just fought a bear and was trying to take out somebody else. I don't know. All the 5,000 bears that got spawned,
Yeah, they had to buff bows to handle the bear menace.
It's true.
Oh gosh.
True.
Thanks, Karthos. Thanks. Yep. Appreciate it. Quality content right there.
Steven did confirm in Discord that they will be showing bows this live stream, didn't he?
This live stream or September's live stream? Because I thought
I
saw something
thought he
about
said
September.
Rangers in September.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what it was? September? Maybe I mixed up my months. Okay, so September.
It's close enough to September.
But I could be wrong. I don't spend a whole lot of time in the Discord, and that seems to be where he leaks all the info like that.
Yeah. He said Ranger, but what if they show Rangers but not bows? But they already showed the bows.
Oh, he did say Rangers in September.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I thought it was this month. I was all excited for it. I guess we gotta wait another month.
Maybe we get bows this month. I don't know. Probably
This
put them
month-
together.
Yeah, this month is, maybe we'll find out who the Desert Mama is.
Oh yeah, Desert Mama.
Probably not, but you know.
Everybody was wondering. But the
been a hot
flashy
topic.
effects. I think the flashy effects, being able to turn them down not only would help with like the autism, but also graphics cards, right? So Alexia, thank you. 2 months.
Oh, thank you, Alexia.
Cheers. But like, what are your thoughts on that? Because I think I know that they're trying to optimize it. They recently put out a tweet for optimizing and asking people what graphics cards they have. So do you think being able to scale the flashiness would also help with that a bit?
I think that's pretty standard for MMOs these days. I think most games have like a particle effects or effects slider that you can slide. So I mean, I think it'd be something basic they need to include. Just like, these days you always see support for, different colorblind modes depending on what type of colorblind you are. So I think like that's just something that's necessary. At some point there has to be some sort of visual effect, but being able to tone it down so it isn't like blinding you while you're playing, or in some very extreme cases causing bad stuff to happen. I I think it's definitely something that they have to do, and I think it would be a big misstep for them to like ignore that.
I agree.
Yeah, and I would agree fully on that. And I think, unless I'm wrong, I think Steven's confirmed a couple times that they're going to have some form of slider or lever or control that you have as a player to change the particle effects and, you know, the flashy effects, and turn them down if your machine just can't really handle it.
Yeah.
One thing I would like to see, kind of in the same on the same vein of the particle effects and attacks, something that you see in Elder Scrolls Online, where you telegraphs on the floor, you can change the color of them based on whether they're friendly or enemy. And I think that's super important, because you look at a game like New World, and in New World you saw green circles and white circles from ice gauntlets or healing staves, and you didn't know which ones were your friendlies and which ones were your enemies. So sometimes you're running out of friendly ice circles, at the same time running out of friendly healing circles, because you don't know which is safe.
Right. Bow ties are sweet.
Bow ties are
gosh.
cool.
But yeah, no, I mean, honestly, having that stuff is important. And being able to adjust that stuff is important, because again, like, who's friendly, who's not friendly, kind of stuff. I know there was talk about nameplates and stuff as well, like being worried about like nameplates being too large and then clustering up screens and things like that as well. So I think there's a lot that they have to take into consideration, especially considering having large scale, like 500 v 500, just like tons of nameplates on the screen.
Yeah, it's going to get super interesting on how all that's handled and what levers they allow people to have.
Right. And then, of course, seeing who's a part of your party and like being able to differentiate that, like maybe by color or something, like green for party members or something like that. Aw. Just Hamlet saying that his dog has a bow tie. I thought it was cute.
Oh yeah, Karthus really likes bow ties, so.
Yeah. The next topic is game mechanics. And there's a few different things that kind of go into it. It's not necessarily game mechanics that are out, but game mechanics that people are discussing about either changing or things that they'd like to see potentially as game mechanics. Is there any one of those there, Vertec, that you're interested, or even Hamlet's? Anything like pop out to you?
Food will never expire. Oh, you know what? Yeah, here's one. Since we were speaking about, actually no, it sounded like you were going to talk. You guess first.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was just going to comment on the food not expiring. I think with it being an MMO, I don't think that like food expiring is necessarily like something that we should really be looking at. I see it very common in like survival games, but I just don't think it really fits in like the MMO genre. So I'm not a huge fan of food expiring, like in Ash, if that would be a thing in Ashes.
Yeah, it's a magical world. There's dragons and stuff. Let's go ahead and make the food last forever. We're good.
Yeah.
We got some magical preservatives.
And the reason why they brought that up is they're saying with the rotating seasons, and they were assuming that there might be a possible like seasonal crop type of thing. They're wondering if the food would expire because of that. And one thing that I had kind of brought up was that, maybe the crops could have like be available every season, but.
Uh-oh.
I think we lost Chibi.
We lost Chibi. He expired. Oh, now we're shuffling people.
Uh-oh. I mean, on the topic of food expiring, once she gets back on here, we did have a discussion on my Discord recently talking about, and it's actually tied to the office hours they had, where people were talking about prepping and eating food for going to the desert, and there's a lot of complaints about like, hey, it's not a survival game, I shouldn't have to drink water in a desert. But I think it's okay to have specific zones that would need you need to have some sort of preparation before you can get into them.
Yeah, I mean, at some point you gotta figure that this is an MMO. I shouldn't have to insert whatever. You gotta kind of look at, well, yeah, but it's a MMO, not a survival game. I shouldn't have to worry about monsters coming to kill me, because that's a survival game feature. Like, there's some things like, yeah, you gotta put something in there for mechanics and things to worry about and things to consider. Like, you don't have to have, like, if you don't eat every 2 hours, you start to become fatigued or something like that. That's a little extreme, but I think if it's a big wide desert like BDO or something, I could definitely see, like, you need to drink some water out there.
They already kind of had a little bit of a system I prefer in Alpha 1, right? There was that dragon where if he hadn't done the quest and gotten, I forget if it was an amulet or a ring, if you hadn't gotten that, you basically would die to the AoE in that den, so they kind of did have, in the sense, it was an attunement, which kind of didn't feel so much as an attunement because you could still go in there without the item. But without the item, like, maybe if you were super high level, you could heal through it, but you basically would just take damage. So everyone to kill that dragon, you had to go do this quest so you can actually fight it and stand a chance at it.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's, if anything, a better way to do attunement type stuff anyway. Because then you can at least make it into the place and realize why you should not be there. Give you a way to either the only way you can win a fight is with this thing that you got to get from outside the place, or the only way to survive this thing, or the only way to solve this puzzle, etc., is by doing something outside of the dungeon. Can you imagine if you went to a big old dungeon or raid and it was basically just a giant open arena like cave, and that's all that was there, unless you did some quests outside of it that unlocked different areas of it or summoned different things to the arena, etc. And like the only way to really fully participate in the entire I live here now. But yeah, the only way to really experience the entire raid is to do a full quest line, or even 3 outside the raid that all lead you to the raid to do something.
Yeah, I definitely think the attunement for the sake of attunement is kind of bad on the same vein. But in what you're saying is the quest or whatever event you're doing leading up to making the event different, I think could be important. As far as food though, I guess someone mentioned that being able to have different foods and crops depending on the seasons, you could always still store food. So I think even then, like, you can make an argument as to why food shouldn't expire. If anything, during the off season, it could create a market for crafters where they stockpile a bunch of winter food, and then during the summertime, like, the winter food that have X stat or give you X benefit is not readily available, so now it sells for more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing I thought of immediately with when they said seasons would start to affect gatherables, is, that could be a thing for me, because I tend to collect a whole bunch of stuff and just drop it on the auction house. But then there's other times I collect stuff that I know is going to be out of season shortly, and I stockpile it. And I got a ton of it sitting around, and I'll craft things out of season.
Yeah, you could even go further into some sort of encounter design where there could be, maybe it's something super rare. It could be some sort of boss you fight during the summer. It's only available during the summer, but to really effectively fight it and make it easier, you need an effect from like winter food. So you have to you may miss it the first season because you didn't realize it, but later on the line you realize that like some of this food is valuable to save because the effects may be needed for things on the line. And that's really where you could Intrepid could sort of manipulate the market some and make certain things more valuable by introducing encounters and bosses that require some sort of buff or effect you get from that particular item or food.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey there, my lord. How's it going? Oh, Nera, yeah, they definitely talked about having ovens and stuff that would give you an extra buff or an extra long buff or something. Because I remember talking about, so we will have microwaves in Ashes. Awesome. But
I'm waiting for
it's neat.
the microwave freehold cosmetic.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Just a little oven that looks like a little microwave. Has a little, like a magic glow to it and everything.
You have to give it the old school dial though. You couldn't give it the new little digital touchscreen. It had to be a little dial where you turned it and it dinged at the end when it was done.
Kitchen counters are marble. 5% extra stamina buff to your muffin. My muffin needs stamina, for sure. So yeah, Chibi's apparently having technical difficulties. We'll get her back shortly, in theory. Maybe.
Should have got that we are talking about before, but the Frosted Flakes milk cooled PC would have been fine.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, that's interesting. In case anybody missed it, yeah, apparently Tony the Tiger is going to be a VTuber on Twitch. Womp womp. Womp womp. With a milk-cooled PC.
Recording stopped.
Yep.
Excuse me. Alright. And now we're going to be broken up a little bit here. Hello, Cry. Thank you so much for stopping in with the raid. You caught us in an awkward time. We have a chibi that just had some technical issues. And she's disappeared on us. She is now a ghost. But thanks for stopping by. Thanks for bringing the raid. I love those little hearts. The Fantastico. Alright. We gotta defend against this raid, right?
That's some super trippy hearts. It's gonna steal your soul as you're looking into them.
There we go. Being attacked. Chibi's coming to haunt me. Oh, she probably is. I wouldn't doubt it. She's vengeful like that. But yeah, see, I don't wanna go to the next topic without her. I feel bad.
What does chat think about expiring food?
Yeah, what do you think about expiring food and stuff? Is it a good idea, bad idea, terrible idea? I mean, you heard our take on it. Not, as I would say, a big fan.
Never eat soggy waffles.
Never eat soggy waffles, there you go. Expiring food shouldn't exist in real life. That I will, yes, absolutely.
I mean, if you don't want expiring food, just go buy a McDonald's hamburger. I'm sure you guys have seen that picture of that hamburger they have in like a little like glass plate that's been sitting there for like 30 years and has no mold on it.
Oh, that's just weird. I mean, I kind of think that's a little bit of a stretch. There's no way that it hasn't gotten anything growing on it. It's got to be edible by some kind of fuzzy fungus out there.
Yeah.
But the French fries, however, like oil is just meh.
The French fries are weird because they turn into leather as soon as they hit sunlight.
Yeah, pretty much. Probably weave a basket out of those things. When nature refuses to eat it, you've got problems. Oh my gosh. Speaking of which, so I think we mentioned this before. We're doing some mead making at home, and yeah. So I ended up prepping up a big bucket with. I was working on 5 gallons. I was gonna make, and that requires like I don't know, like $75-$80 worth of honey. And I let it set because I didn't have enough spring water or distilled water. So I needed to go to the store the next day because everything was closed when I needed it. And it ended up molding because I waited like 2 or 3 days before I was able to go. Totally ruined it. It was like an $80 mistake.
The honey started molding?
Yeah, the whole bucket of honey water just molded up on the top.
Oh. See, I didn't think honey would mold, because I remember there being a thing where like they're saying that like in some of the Egyptian pharaohs caves they have like ancient honey that was just there, not moldy, but that might have been like honey, a 5-star or something.
This is like honey water, so it was like 12-ish pounds of honey diluted by about 3 gallons of water. That definitely can mold. Absolutely.
Okay, that's the difference.
Yeah. So it was in preparation for so stuff loaded off honey. Yeah. Oh no! It just decided to go bad. I know if I'd gotten the yeast in there properly soon enough, it actually would have killed pretty much anything else in there. That stuff it's bananas. Very aggressive.
Yeah, I've not tried making any of that. I've always thought about making my own sourdough bread, because I know people like, I've seen it in like movies where like, oh, I have a starter, and it's like this family starter that's like famous, has been with the family for like 30 years, and they use that to make sourdough. I don't know how that works, but like I always thought the idea of that seemed cool.
Hey, there we are. Now I can shrink this back down.
I broke it again.
Oh, when you rebooted it?
No, I was just meaning your overlay.
Oh.
I broke the overlay again. I don't know what happened to my PC. It just decided that it was going to just freeze up and like seize. Nothing was dying on like the CPU was fine. The RAM was fine. All of that was fine. There's like maybe at 20%, 50% maximum. And it just decided to seize up. I don't know. But we're good. We're back. Well, I'm back. So.
Overthrow says, can we talk about Chibi's PC boot time?
So what happened actually was I restarted the PC and then it just gave me black screen. So I had to forcibly shut it off and then restart it, which made me sad. She's a 5-year-old computer. Okay. She's
yeah. The panic that you probably did see in my eyes is more for, oh God, what's broken? What died?
Yeah.
Oh no. Please tell me that the computer's going to survive, because, no. Oh
yeah.
no.
She's a little on the older side, but we give her lots of TLC. But I don't know. Technology be weird, but I did check and there's a couple of things I need to update, but I'll do that later. But back to topic. I forgot what we were talking about, except for, food and quality of life and mechanics and stuff. Did you move on to the next topic? I think we were moving on to the next
thing because no, we wanted to wait for you.
Oh, I appreciate that.
But I think we covered everything on food spoilage, and nobody wants food spoilage, even in real life.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense.
And I told them about my moldy honey water experience.
Oh, no. Yeah, the poor mead.
I almost cried.
Mead. It's true. He did almost cry. I was there.
We were also, talking about muffin stamina.
Muffin stamina? Oh my gosh. That's funny. The thing I was going to say was I had commented us having said about like microwaves and stuff increasing the longevity of food before like should it expire. But also different crops having an additional buff while they're in season. So it kind of promotes you going to other seasons if you're trying to get that crop that's like in season. Like go to a different node area, whatever node has that season. And potentially they might have it, or they'll have a different crop. I don't know. I just thought it might be kind of cool to promote travel that way.
True story. True story. Hey,
definitely
could you imagine somebody just being a nomadic farmer?
Right. I mean, that'd be pretty cool. I know somebody was talking about in the forums being nomadic and being nodeless, but unfortunately, probably to their dismay, I believe you can't even have a tent if you're not a citizen to a node. So We'll see if that's actually true or not, but
how neat would
the
it
nomad
be?
dreams.
Yeah, how neat would it be though if you could become a friend of the house, therefore be allowed to do things like gather off of the node, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody pays like exclusive rights to be able to gather from your specific little plot of whatever gatherable, they could quite literally just pay a solid swath of people from one end to the other and just nomadically farm all of those nodes and just pay a monthly fee of whatever just to keep access to be the only one that's allowed to farm it. And just farm this, and then go through at the beginning of another season and plant all the seeds for whatever. Go through, start again at the end of the season, farm it all.
I am waiting for the player named Chiquita to only be a banana farmer and just go from region to region farming the best bananas.
I love it.
They better have that hat. Just saying, they better have the banana, apple, grape, whatever other fruits were in their hat.
I'm getting a poll ready. There we go. I'm gonna go ahead and start this.
Magical.
I'll let it go for like 10 minutes. Yeah. I want farmers to be like breeders and cross breeding seeds and making magical modified organisms. Nice.
I'm making
like
MMOs. And then you can build a massive corporation to make MMOs great again.
What would be the MMO version of Monsanto?
Oh man, I don't even know. Oh. Never. Stop it with your chaos. I tease. Bring the chaos. Bring the chaos. So the next thing I wanted to bring up was actually the standard listing fee versus deposit listing fee. So someone was suggesting that there be a you put this on the market and you only pay if it sells versus you automatically get charged a percentage for putting it on the market. So we're trying to like figure out like what people preferred, and I actually have the poll up. So deposit based fee is where you don't get charged until after. Standard listing fee is where you get charged regardless if it sells or not. What are your thoughts on that?
There's quite a full discussion on that on the forums.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have not read that forum post. I have it up here, but I haven't read it. Deposit though, I think having deposit base encourages more people to attempt to trade. Because the last thing you want to do is if you don't know much about the market and you're not what they call a goblin and like just working the market, you go and try and sell your stuff and put a bunch of stuff for sale, and like it doesn't sell. Now instead of making a profit, now you've lost money. So I think having a deposit, so yeah, you maybe pay up something up front, but it's return if it doesn't sell. I think definitely that's my preferred way of doing things.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah. So the listing fee, though, I don't know personally why specifically it would work that way, but people say on that post that the listing fee actually helps keep people from trying to undercut a system, but like undercut the market over and over. But
fair.
If you think about it, somebody's going to keep doing that anyway, right? Like if you make the deposit fee so that if you cancel the order, it takes away that deposit. You either let it run its course and it sells, or you let it run its course and it doesn't sell. If it sells, they take the money. If it doesn't sell, then you get the deposit back.
Mm-hmm.
That'll work the same as if there's a listing fee. Because the listing fee, man, someone's going to put it up for like 10K and it's going to not sell, and they're going to see somebody who listed it for like 99.95, and they're just going to, I would personally be like, all right, well, F you, 7K. Here, take the thing. I just want to make some money. I will undercut the bejeebus out of you if it's a listing fee. I just want some money. You can list yours over and over and keep losing money. I just want to sell it. If it doesn't sell at what I think is an appropriate price, I will chop it by 30%. I don't even care. So now you're not going to sell your item. Thanks for undercutting me by 5 gold. You jerk.
That's his deep pockets. Just buy your item and then put it back up for $99.95.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good luck
when
to
you
him.
sold it. So what you want to do is done.
Right.
Yeah.
Overthrow says that if there's no listing fee, then you have infinite storage until you hit your maximum number of market orders. And I could see that as well.
Okay. Well, if you're you only have a limited number of items you can put up for sale too. And if you hit that max and you don't pull something out, you have like 14 days to pull it out, or else it disappears. The market eats it.
Yeah, I mean, you can get around that, right? Because you can make it so that when you list something, it's still in your storage, but it's locked, so you can't take it out of your storage. You gray it out, or however you decide to design it, so it can't be removed while it's listed, but it'll still take up storage space. If you like really wanted to do that, where maybe you didn't have a market limit system and the system is limited just by how much storage space you have.
Mm-hmm.
I actually like that. I like that. That's a good compromise for it. Like, it actually still takes up a bank slot until it sells. So it's more like an actual consignment type thing. Like, you can only have so much stuff.
Yeah, that would actually be really neat, because then you, one, get it out of your bag. Two, you aren't like taking advantage of a free inventory slot at the bank. And 3, if it doesn't sell, it stays in your bank. So if you end up actually needing it because it never sold, you can just take it back off of consignment and just keep it. A lot
I think
depends on the relationships, auction houses, storage. New World struggled with that a lot. Okay.
Yeah, New World allowed you to, I know people, like when you run out of storage, people would just like list a big stack of something at a price that no one would buy, basically to use the auction house as a storage system.
Yeah. Litanu, hi, says, how do player stalls factor in listing? Do you pay the person to list your items up front or after if it sells?
Gonna be honest, I don't know much about the player stalls.
Yeah, I have to be honest as well. I mean, I would personally rather just put up, I would be working and I would put up myself as a player stall over on the side just to do something in the game while I'm working IRL. That's what I plan to use player stalls for.
I'm gonna look it up right now though.
I think you'd have to use a deposit system, right? Because what's to abuse someone from like, hey, you list my item for this much money, and then it sells, and then I guess you would just take they'll just take their cut off of the selling price, so it wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah.
I was thinking if someone were to like try and not pay a deposit bit, they just wouldn't be able to just take that money away.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't work.
Overthrow says player stalls are linked to warehouse, as far as we know. On a tangent, what should happen to gatherables and processed goods for sale in a node if said node is destroyed, lost, or mailed back? That's a good question. I'm
torn on that.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel
like,
about that.
On one side, like being a citizen of a node, you are committed to that node. You're committed to the defense of that node, right? So reason would say that you're trying to defend it as much as you can. But at the same time, like the idea of punishing a player because they chose to be part of a node when they might have not been informed and now they lost all the work they put into it. That's one of those things where like you just blame the player and say, hey, sorry. Or do you have some sort of system where like there's some sort of protection for them? Maybe it can move into the new owner's node, and they could pull it out with some sort of fee or they lose some penalty for it. I think definitely should be some penalty for it, but I don't think that it should all be gone.
Yeah.
TF deposit based is when you go to sell an item and you put down a deposit that when the item sells, they then take that fee. If it doesn't sell, they give you that fee back. Whereas standard listing fee is just you pay that amount and you don't get it back, whether it sells or not. But usually they're a little smaller than the deposit based fee.
I think what Nara said is what you said, Vertec, and if you cancel the selling, the deposit being lost is a really good compromise.
Yeah,
that way it prevents
like
you from trying to abuse the system. But at the same time, like you committed for a week of it, it's up for a week, and you can give up the fee if you want to relist it for a lower amount.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't mind. If I think something is worth a certain amount, I will list it and relist it and relist it over and over and over at that amount and just keep it there. And I will let it sit for 6 months until it sells. If I feel that is a fair price for it, and that's what I want to get for it.
Yeah, that's fair. I asked a storage question for Q&A, and Stephen mentioned a crate system for Alpha 2 with different quality crates having different capacities. That's cool. And that was a prototype system, so I'm really curious on how it will end up. The relationship between caravans, warehouse, and selling mechanisms. It's a good point, Overthrow. Also, if you guys wanted to continue that specific conversation about storage and everything, I just listed up on Twitter the same poll, essentially, with the link to the forum post, and in case you guys want to chat about it with other people there. But yeah, I mean, the crate system, that'd be really interesting, especially given the caravans and how much a caravan can like hold at a time. I'm actually interested in seeing like is the crate the bank or are those separate things? I forget.
I think the crates that were being mentioned was
I think it's for your warehouse.
For all of the
field,
I think
right?
it's for like all the above. Like you have to unlock or buy like certain quality crates, and it'll kind of tie in between them.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
That's one thing that I didn't really dig into too much. So let me see if I can find some info real quick.
Yeah. And then the final thing is, I heard you guys talking about this while I couldn't respond, but you were talking, I believe, for a second, Hamlet, on drinking water in the desert and not having the water being an effect on you. The next part of this topic that I had found was interactive environment with like your armor types. So if you're wearing like heavy plate or furs in the desert, having an effect on you, kind of thing.
I did see that post, and I think like that just goes back into things you get from survival games, right? Like in the biggest one is Ark. If you wear like heavy furs in the desert, you get too hot. If you wear not heavy enough clothes and up in the mountains, you get too cold. I just don't think it really belongs in an MMO. Like I think that for a number of reasons, right?
It's fun to toss in D&D, but like an MMO is like, why is it being so tedious? Kind of a feeling.
Right, like we're supposed to be super powerful. We're playing super powerful characters that can use magic and have superhuman abilities. That can mow down waves of monsters in a single swing. But a little heat kind of takes me down a notch. Seems a little weird.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see where you're coming from. I just I guess I think that in certain like extra extreme environments, like even talking about Guild Wars 2, like the icy area, where you can't survive in that area until you get to a certain point and you unlock a certain thing where you can now withstand that cold. But every time to withstand that cold, you need to craft these potions, but you can't craft them until you get to a certain point in the story and learn how to do so. Like things like that, I'm perfectly okay with. The desert thing specifically, I just think the desert and even the open sea is one of those things where I think there should be special consideration, because you could even out in that real life place, you could totally get lost in that stuff super easy.
Yeah.
Like super easy. You gotta be well prepared, or else you get lost there worse than pretty much anything else, because it's just endless expanses of nothing that you see. But
yeah, I think thematically, if you have certain areas that require a certain level of preparation to get into, they're okay. Like Black Desert does it with desert, right? You have a lot of desert area, and then you have the big dune sea in the middle where you walk in and then you lose your compass, and I think you need to drink water. I can't remember. It's been a while since I played.
Yeah, water or tea.
Yeah, it's definitely like additional stuff that happens during that time, right? And I think that could be cool, especially if you put it in areas that may have a little bit of a different rule set. You know, maybe when you fight someone in this desert, there's no corruption penalties. You know, so it becomes a whole different zone you're really prepping to go into, knowing that like, hey, I can go in there, I can get killed by anything. It's meant to be really dangerous.
Right.
And the extra barrier, well, it is a barrier at the same time is like, you basically are signing a contract saying, I'm willingly going to this place and I'm taking these extra steps to be able to do it, well knowing that I can go in there and get lost and die or lose whatever and have no repercussions for the person that killed me.
Right. And that's actually kind of interesting on the items transported thing to kind of flash back at it, since I did change topic while you're looking up. I'm interested in seeing how that works out. Do you have Alpha 2 access, Hamlet?
Yeah.
Are you planning on playing?
Yeah. I mean, there's no other MMOs, so I'll probably be playing that pretty heavily if just some sort of persistence to it. But yeah, I mean, like Guild and MVS, right? We're all... I mean, we're basically like all the leadership. We've already decided that like we're going to treat it like a full launch, our main game. So I'll be in there a lot. Yeah, I'll definitely be playing Alpha 2 a lot.
Well, if we're in the same server, I'll make sure to do a slash wave at you. I think that's in there. And then that's kind of it for the game mechanics topic. I would like to take us into the random topics, which don't worry, I saw your post about the cumulative cost of cosmetics, and I tossed it into the random topic section. So it wasn't forgotten or like thrown aside. It was just pinned. Anything interesting there that you want to talk about?
Sorry. Regarding like cost of cosmetics?
There's the cost of cosmetics topic, there's the day or night cycle topic, and then the politics.
Topic, I see it. Yeah, so I think the cost of cosmetics is like a very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's very it's a very heated debate.
Oh, right. Absolutely.
And just in general, like cosmetics, like I like the idea of cosmetics as a whole. What I don't like though is that like, and this is what I think is going to happen in Ashes, is that everyone's going to go into this game, you're going to be level 1 and you're going to be looking like a badass.
Right.
And it's like, you're level 1, you're supposed to be just starting out. So I kind of feel like
would you feel better if they would you feel better if they locked that capability behind a higher level thing? Where like go ahead. I'd
like it if you either need to unlock the more extreme part would be unlocking that particular look, right? Because Steven has already said that all these things will have a different color version available in game as well. So I think yes. I'm hoping I'm remembering correctly.
Okay.
But if you have to either unlock that or at the very least a certain level, right? On top of that, on top of the level requirement, even if the level requirement, I think at minimum, there should be like an item weight requirement, right? Like if the armor is meant to look like heavy armor, you should only be able to have it as a cosmetic if you are actually wearing heavy armor in that slot.
Okay, I could see that.
Well, I think that's how it's going to be limited. If I recall correctly, Steven said that there's going to be there's going to be requirements that you need to unlock being able to wear that kind of gear. And that can mean both type of armor as well as tier of armor. So some of these cosmetics could very much be like top tier armor. And until you can unlock the ability to wear that by like hitting max level and then unlocking it through a quest line or whatever, you can't actually use that cosmetic until then.
Right. And also, I do know that they locked some stuff behind, like, for example, the mounts and stuff. You had to have that particular mount in order to use it. So I wonder if they're going to do something similar, again, like what Vertex just said, with the armor, right? You have to have that armor type to be able to use it too. I guess that would make sense. So many people wouldn't have bought items if there would be those kind of requirements. You know what? That sounds like a wonderful question to submit for Q&A to get clarification on. to be honest. If they could give us, Intrepid, if you guys can give us clarification on the cosmetics, that would be awesome. Lots of people are curious, and things look nifty, but I do understand nothing is worse than getting excited about a certain cosmetic and then realizing you can't use it unless you use a particular type of armor set. So yeah.
As well as, the freehold structures, like, what building is that for? I don't know, can't tell you.
Yeah.
All right, well, I mean, I won't buy it if it's going to be for a building I don't plan on ever using.
Right.
If it's for, my first ant colony freehold building, I'm never going to use it.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Hamlet. I think I almost stomped all over you there.
Oh, you're fine. Someone in the chat had mentioned that they wish they would stop these monthly cosmetics, and I think the monthly cosmetics are okay, right? It keeps bringing them in money, it keeps bringing in new hype for people every month, something new. I would, however, kind of to what you mentioned, is for them to be more specific as to the details for it, right? It's supposed to be different types of mount, so knowing what type of mount this cosmetic falls into, what, like you said, what building the freehold cosmetic falls into, because there's some cool stuff I've seen, and I'm like, oh, it could very well be for a building that you never use, and you're right. I spent money on this freehold cosmetic, which are usually in the highest packages, so you're paying the most to get that, unless you already have a package you can buy separately. So you're paying all this money for this, and then you don't know what it's for. And I think someone had mentioned in chat as well about, if there was all these limitations, people wouldn't have bought as many cosmetics, which I think is true. They've never really brought up limitations. And I think at this point, they may not be able to, because if they come back and say, oh yeah, this cosmetic only works if you wear light armor, and I'm playing a tank and I really wanted that aesthetic for my character, and I bought the money, now how does that player feel? How do I feel that I can't use this cosmetic I paid for because my class is going to be using heavy armor and that's only going to work for light armor? So I think they've kind of dug themselves in a hole that's going to be hard to come out of when it comes to balancing the look. But
yeah, they're going to upset somebody somewhere along the way for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, me personally, when it comes to character armors, those cosmetics, I probably won't care about the restrictions, because I usually have enough alts sitting around that I'm toying with that I'm okay with just using it on only one or two. I mean, yeah, it might make me super sad, but I can 1000% see the point of, I only want to play a fighter, and I bought that because it looks like it would be awesome on my fighter. Now I find out they can only really be worn by mage or rogue or summoner, because it needs to be light armor. I never play those classes in any game ever. I hate those classes, and why'd I spend my money on that?
Yeah.
I can definitely see that person existing. A lot of those types of people are my friends, where they play one class and that's it, and they despise anything that's the opposite of that class. So, I mean, that's a hard spot to be in.
I like the point that Nara brings up, is saying that Nara said, I'm fairly sure they'd make more money by not limiting the cosmetics to that month, but purchasable in the future too. And I think it's cool to have your limited time cosmetics. But I think that either you increase the amount of time that's available for longer than a month, just because, as Vertec has experienced firsthand, prepping for getting a cosmetic just to finally get the paycheck in, and then the cosmetic has already changed over. Or, not really sure how you feel about it and then wanting to get it. I do understand the FOMO for Kickstarters. I absolutely get that. But I do also understand how making these cosmetics helps them with in-game stuff, but I just wonder if maybe it's a little too much on the community, Just get rid of the package requirements and just put out cosmetics that can be bought without a package. I thought they already did that.
So once you own a package, you can buy all the cosmetics individually.
Oh,
But
okay.
if
So
you haven't bought in yet, then you have to buy a pack initially.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's actually
see.
even another limitation above that, and that's if you buy like the smaller pack that only has like the accessory and that's it. From that point forward, you can buy any accessory cosmetic.
Oh.
If you
I
buy
didn't
the
realize those were
accessory
even that
and
limited.
pet pack, then you can buy any accessories and pets going forward, etc. All the way up to the top one where you buy all the cosmetics, and then you can buy any of the cosmetics going forward.
Yeah, and to
Interesting.
your
And
point
that's-
should be about like limited time cosmetics. I think they're a good idea in certain cases, right? Maybe like, for example, a big event like Kickstarter. You know, like they had this Kickstarter, they asked for this money, like a bunch of people, including myself, bought into it with like basically a game sight unseen. So I could understand, you know, them giving Kickstarters something special for it because as a thank you. And you
Right.
could do the same thing when it comes to maybe some of the testing phases or the launch of the game or seasonal events. But I do agree that with the monthly cosmetics now being basically tied to just that 1 month isn't great because there's so many people I hear to all the time who are like, dude, that double tail fox, you know, that firefox looks fucking dope and I want it. And I'm bummed I didn't buy it.
Yeah.
Now-
Or the people that are just now joining who never got a chance to get it in the first place.
Right. You know, and
Yeah.
they're late to the game. You know, they're not late to the game. They're just a couple months late on some packages.
Yeah.
So I think they definitely would make a ton of money on that fox alone if they were to be like, all right,
Oh
guys,
my
like, what we're gonna
gosh.
do, we're changing the store up. We're gonna open it up. You know, all the cosmetics, as long as you have the top pack, because you can keep that limit if they want to. You can buy any of the cosmetics that are available from now on. They could even make it like a limited time event where like for the next 6 months, or we're gonna do it, you know, before launch, you'll be able, or just announce it that before launch, you'll have the ability to buy anything that were in these packs individually.
Yeah.
And I think that would do a lot of goodwill for a lot of people. They'd make a lot of money. And honestly, the people who get upset about that because they bought into an exclusive, like, I don't know, fuck them. Like, that's, you know, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Well, see,
can
there's
see that
there's a
point.
bunch of different sides to this one, to be honest. Like, so for one, a lot of people like collectible items like that because they're collectible and they're going to be not collectible by everybody because you either have to do something special or be somewhere special or it's a limited time thing, right? So there's a good number of them that would not be bought because somebody will be like, I'll pick that one up later, you know. But not today. It's not like it's going to go away or anything. And then the next month comes out and something different is released and they're like, you know what? I like this one better. I'll buy this instead of that last one. So there is that FOMO aspect that, you know, just kind of compounds things. And then there's also the people who would just forget. That would be me. I would forget until one day I'm like, oh yeah, that's all right. I wanted to buy that thing. Oh, now I can't buy it because I bought the other stuff. But also when it comes to like a fundraising and support something that's not released yet, like people really like to be like, okay, why do I want to fund this? Why do I want to support this now? Like today, right now, why do I want to support them and give them money?
Right.
And if it's like, well, because you can get all this cool stuff. Okay, so if I don't buy it now, I can't get it later then, right? No, you can get it at any time. Okay, well, maybe I'll support you in a couple months. Maybe.
Okay, but like, what if, and hear me out on this one, because I do see both your sides. I guess I'm kind of in the middle here. What if you are able to choose because you're paying the top tier, right? So regardless of what you're doing, you're able to. Hi, Don. Very welcome in. You're able to choose which cosmetics from the past cosmetics that you want in that slot. I feel like that would be kind of cool. Mainly because how many times have you and I heard this for tech where somebody was like, oh, I want to come in and get the top tier, but I don't know if I'll like this month's cosmetics or next month's cosmetics more. And they kind of like play that waiting game of like, I don't know, or like I preferred the previous month, but I missed it, you know, things like that. I feel like, I don't know. I just wonder. I wonder if there's like a way to solve this, you know? I do understand the limited time, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? I've also thought kind of like Litanu? How's it pronounced? Hard eye? Soft eye? Litanu? litany, like litany, but litany.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, if they resell them, they should greatly increase the cost of them the second round, like twice the cost. I could even be, as someone who got some of this stuff before because I thought it looked cool and it's not going to be around and I really want to have that and I want to be special and I want to be the unique snowflake. So I bought it because nobody else would be able to buy it. After that point, yeah, that's why I bought some of this stuff. And I would be perfectly okay if it cost more and they re-release it.
How do you feel? How do you feel about them adding a marketplace where people could trade these and sell these cosmetics?
So
I think.
Sorry. I was going to ask.
You go ahead.
Okay. So for like monetary or in-game?
Probably just like both. Okay. You know, like, I mean, Star Citizen doesn't now, right? People buy and sell their ships now.
I feel like it would be borderline pay to win.
It would just be cosmetics, though, right? Like.
Yeah.
Well.
But in one, like, in the idea of what you're buying is just cosmetics, but the idea that you're paying real world money for a cosmetic and then selling it potentially in game for money, that could be seen as the pay to win because then you're getting more gold for selling something that's a cosmetic.
Right, I'm talking more about doing it now up until launch, like for these like monthly cosmetics. Like if they were to just open up a market where you can sell your cosmetics like before the game launches, that way you avoid, because obviously they've had a strong stance of no pay to win, so won't even bring in the in-game stuff for that.
Yeah, I could see it 100% being acceptable and perfectly like no shady business, no gray areas. If they were like, yeah, you can put your stuff up on the marketplace and buy and trade and sell, but every mount is going to be worth 25 embers. Every pet is going to be worth 5 embers. Every armor skin is going to be worth 20 embers.
Well, that way it's fair and people aren't trying to like.
So like, I got this as part of a pack and I don't like it anymore, or I got this as part of a giant pack and I never liked this piece of it anyway, but somebody else who didn't have the chance to get that pack, maybe they really want that thing.
It would be fair in a sense if you were limiting it, like making the trade anonymous to where I would post it and then anyone could buy it. But like, even then, if it's something super rare and like you really want it and I have it and there's none posted up there, you know, maybe you put a buy order, I put it for sale and you buy it and then we make a backdoor deal. You give me $1,000 for it. Like that'd be something that would be hard to prevent in the system where even when they try to limit that by giving everything a set cost.
Yeah, I could say something like that.
It's definitely a slippery slope.
Oh, absolutely! Like this is
a tough
with the set cost though.
Yeah,
with the set cost though, if it's just worth the cosmetic skin currency, right? Because the embers are for the in-game cosmetic market only. That's the only place you can spend the money.
Right.
So if it's going to be everything is worth a set value and it's only spendable inside the cosmetic place, then if you really, really, really want a certain cosmetic item, I mean, and you have a friend out in real life, I mean, that's the kind of RMT that you just can't stop, no matter what you do in any game.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have somebody pay you 10 grand to run you through a raid because they're about to, extinct a certain mount that's never going to drop from that raid again.
Right.
And you could just give that to the guy literally sitting next to you in an internet cafe. Which, who raids an internet cafe, but whatever. It's an example.
Some people do.
It's a terrible one.
Right.
But, the general idea, that's the kind of RMT you just literally can't stop when somebody's that determined that they don't care if they get something of equal actual value out of it.
Can you do me a favor, because featured chat is being annoying? Can you grab Cora Horror's text there, please?
Yeah, featured chat is the same with me. It's just dead.
Okay, cool. Well, I will just bring it up because that's why I didn't use it earlier. Cora Horror says, I think cosmetics should be active all year, but the month it came out, the next year, it would be a lower cost to celebrate the patch that it was introduced. I think that's an interesting concept. I kind of like the idea of it being available for 1 year until that month. And then it goes away and then you have a new swap out.
Or even
Or
for that
even 6
matter,
months.
if they were limited, like how would you feel about this? If they still had the FOMO type activities, but they were to drop it 1 month, and you have it 1 month, you can get it at a certain price, and then 1 year after, you have one more chance to get it, but it's at like a higher price.
I don't know. I mean, I think it would be nice to be able to get something that you couldn't get before in general, but go ahead. Sorry.
So it's kind of a multi-tiered idea, right? So you get your biggest backers. So people who have the top packages have Alpha 2 access, right? Maybe you have like kind of a Disney Vault thing where you bring things out of the vault, every once in a while, like where you have a rotation of these cosmetics. So now, like, some people are going to be upset because the limited time thing is gone, right? But they're not still going to be available all the time. They can rotate through. So they have a vault that rotates through, and like, you'll know that fox will be available at some point within the next year or two, but you don't know when. But it'll still come back around. So it still creates some rarity to it because it may only be available to be bought, a couple times a year, or once a year, or once every 2 years. But it will come back through the shop, and people will be able to purchase it again.
Yeah. I think that would
I
be...
just know some of the things that I've gotten, especially up to this point, for sure, I got them because I kind of like them. I think I might be able to make it fit on a character, but I definitely wanted to pick it up now because of that exclusive collectivity part of it. Like, this is going to be something that I could totally fit into like an RP character that I don't really go out and level or anything. It's just, it's a character I'm going to use for a specific kind of attitude or whatever. But if it were available just out in the world or just available at any time to buy, I probably wouldn't have touched it.
Well, I think a lot of these are going to be available out in the world, but like with some variation to it, because I believe I saw that in the chat earlier. It's just I didn't get to grab it because of yay, the featured chats being mean. But yeah, I mean, FOMO really does suck. It is definitely a marketing tactic, but I think maybe, I don't know, because we've been doing this for 2017, 5 years, right? 5 years of this. And so that page has like how many different cosmetics that came out and how many I think months of it, and so it's just, imagine if everybody were to get, or even one person were to get every single one of those, it was roughly $5,000. It's a crazy amount to be spending. I mean, I spent less than that on the top tier package. So like, that's just crazy. I
know someone in my guild who's claimed to have bought every month.
Wow.
Like, it's a lot of money.
I wish I could have afforded to do that.
Right?
I would have if I had the money, believe you me.
I mean, it doesn't, once you have the package, it's only, I don't know what it comes out to, probably like $80 to $100 to buy the individual cosmetics each month. So I think it's less. But like, I bought the corgi because I have a corgi, as a dog, like I have a real corgi.
Cute.
So as soon as I saw the royal corgi, I'm like, dude, I bought it immediately. But one of the things in a while is like, I didn't play during one of the anniversary events and I missed out on the molten corgi. And I hate it because like, I love that pet and I want it, but I could never get it because I just happened to not be playing that year that like that event happened, which sucks. There's no way to buy it. There's no secondary market. There's no way to get it. So like I like the idea of having some sort of rotating shop or letting people trade in a way and giving people the ability to still be able to go out and get these things sometimes, right? Like, and I don't know, maybe that's the, I don't know the word to use, but like, maybe this is me, wanting everyone to be able to kind of get a little bit of what they're looking for.
Yeah.
I mean, the other way of looking at it. What's that?
I said, and not be punished for poor timing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but you figure there's a lot of things out there in a lot of games, like anniversary gifts and collector's editions and everything. It's kind of a fact of life in everything out there. And I know, video games aren't life. They're kind of an escape from it, right? So, I mean, that's a kind of a thing you could kind of take with a grain of salt. But it's kind of one of those things where if you miss out on something, it kind of sucks, but at the same time, that's what makes it special for the people who did get it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, kind of fun to continue.
I just got a Discord DM of someone sent me a screenshot of the molten corgi.
Oh no, they're teasing you.
Telling me they have one.
Aw, nice. Man.
Womp womp.
But
yeah. Also, Ashes of Nair. We also have Intrepid saying they don't need the money from the cosmetics at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is what I think was it Hamlet's. Yeah. That was you who said, but who doesn't like money? There's also the, you could take. I think I responded to somebody's cosmetic thing by saying, you can take a certain amount of money and get a Kia made in a certain amount of time, or you could raise more money and throw more money at it and get a Lexus made in, half the time.
Yeah.
Which one would you prefer to do?
Yeah.
Get the more experienced people in the more polished game and just get more money dumped in and get the better quality quicker.
Yeah.
That's where I would go.
Yeah. But I mean, honestly, cosmetics are usually a hot topic. Just because of the FOMO and things like that. There are tons of cosmetics that I've missed, but Overthrow, I wasn't meaning like 5K per person or anything like that. It was just meaning the fact that somebody even took the time to factor out how much that would be, and the fact that it is 5K for that much is just, it really set like a perspective for me. It was more of the point that I was trying to make. It's just crazy how much money that would have been.
I honestly thought it would have been more. Like, that's less than $100 a month, right?
Yeah. But I mean, also depending on like your cost of living and your income and things like that, like some things are more easily available for people than others. So it's just one of those things where, like, for one person, $20 a month is nothing. For another person, $20 a month is their spending money for the entire month. That's all they have for like free stuff.
For sure. I mean, when I first bought the Kickstarter, I bought a basic founders package because at the time it's all I could afford. I've now since upgraded it. That life has been good and I can afford it now. But yeah, for sure, I definitely get that. But I think Dagiel on chat made a really good point that FOMO does suck, but if they stick to the word about being able to have in-game versions of all these things, like, it's not a big of a deal, right? Like right now they have the Firefox, but there could be a different color skin version available in-game through some achievement or for whatever. And like that solves a lot of that FOMO for a lot of people. And I think that's one of the things that even myself in this conversation we've had, I forget, and it's easy to like ignore that these things are all supposed to be available in-game as well,
right?
In some sort of slightly different version,
right? And honestly, that's why I responded to them. I was like, I'm waiting for my purple Firefox. Thank you. Y'all can have your red one. I'll take a purple one.
Purple Firefox.
I think that'll be cool.
Yeah, I've also always thought, like, what do you think about a good like halfway ground between the I want my stuff to be collectible and you can't get it after a certain point, and making stuff collectible forever and pick it up whenever you want? As if they had, currently they have what, 6 different things every month coming out? What if half of them were to be released from that point going forward? You can buy them whenever, and the other half are limited to that month only.
That'd be cool.
And they were split even by cost. Like literally half the cost of them are purchasable in the future, and half the cost of them are only that 1 month, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just it's very similar to our current system with just some of the stuff, but you still, and while it may appease some people, it's also gonna piss off other people. And at the same time, like, you're gonna have people who are like, well, I wanted this one to be available all the time because I miss it and that isn't. So I don't think it solves too much of a problem. Like, I think it gives players options, but I don't think it solves core of the problem that people were like missing FOMO things.
Grab your drinks.
Hydrate indeed.
Thank you, NVS Gaming, for the hydrate. But yeah, I mean, I thought that was just interesting that it was brought up, just how much it was. But Some of the other topics we have here are also the in-game politics and the day and night cycle. But I know that we are getting close to 9 o'clock.
Oh wow, time flies. Actually, yeah. We're gonna
So I wanted to make sure that we aren't overriding any, evening plans or other things. If you need us to wrap up, we can, kind of thing.
No, me personally, I have time. I have D&D tonight, but that's in 2.5 hours. So
okay, gotcha.
I'm good on time. I don't know.
Vertex?
Yeah.
I'd say we could probably start wrapping up in like 10, 15, somewhere in there. Get
Okay.
maybe two more topics in.
Do a
speed round.
Oh, we could do the speed round. Let's do a speed round. Politics, in-game politics is referring to the different things like the different nodes and the different not classes but guilds fighting each other and creating friendships and then secretly betraying those friendships later, and just the overall enjoyment of it. What are your thoughts with going into Ashes with that?
I think it's going to be really exciting to see where things go, because this you see it now in other games, like guilds who exist just to be like a scourge in the community, and be a thorn at your side. And I argue with some of my guild members all the time. I'm like, dude, just ignore them. And they're like, you can't ignore them, because then they start spreading all these propaganda about you, and everyone thinks that you're a bad person or a bad guild. And I'm like, I don't like giving them the time of day. But you're going to see a lot of that stuff, I think, in Ashes, with how heavily invested, having some sort of alliances are going to be. Even if your allies cannot help you in a given battle, having agreements with other guilds to where you won't fight each other. So you big guild A and big guild B, you have their own nodes, and they're never going to fight each other for it. Now they don't have to worry about fighting each other. They can deal with everyone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the politics is going to be crazy interesting, and I don't know. Maybe not the real strong guilds, but I definitely see some guilds being blown apart by some of the politics.
Yeah. The point that I had brought up was that I see there being politics across all of them. On the RP side, the dwarves not wanting to be owned in any way, shape, or form by a human. So like having oh, you think you're going to come in here and take us over? Like, no, we're fighting you just for RP reasons. And then like PvE players for access to things like raids and dungeons and things like that. And then of course PvP players for like wars and things like that. Just some things from chat. Ravon says the politics will be really interesting, just seeing how wars will start and how treaties will be made. Hell, I want some World War in Ashes of Creation and end up with some version of like the treaties of Versailles. I forgot how to say that exactly.
Versailles.
Overthrow says, I wonder if guilds will have diplomats like Eve Corps do. Interesting.
I think I could be wrong. I think the name is actually Revan.
Sorry. My bad.
Yeah, Knights of the Old Republic.
My bad. My bad. Sorry, Revan.
Yeah.
But yeah. The other topic is day and night cycle, and talking. They hadn't seen very much from night from Ashes, but there are But
I was also going to say, Riven may have been perfectly okay with you pronouncing it Rivan. Cute girls get away with a lot more.
But the day-night cycle, I think OP hadn't really seen any night shots of Ashes yet, but somebody did respond and say like, oh, they had like one at Christmas, right, with the lights and everything. But that's something that I think would be interesting, is seeing what the, if any, effect of a day-night cycle will have on Vera. One thing I brought up was seeing perhaps some bioluminescent plants at night. I know I bring up bioluminescence a lot. I'm sorry. I'm very partial towards it. But wouldn't that be cool? You're out in the desert and the sun's going down, and off in the distance where there's like a little oasis spot, you see a bioluminescent grouping of plants, and that kind of helps you find where some water is. But that'd be cool.
I want to see sunflowers that follow the sun and then get sleepy at night.
That's cute.
Is that a thing with actual sunflowers?
I think so.
Yeah, I know they
It's
actually
one
do like
flower
follow the
does,
sun
at
to a
least.
point. Yeah. I just don't know about the get sleepy at night. That's just how I think of them when they have the flower like dangling straight down towards the ground. It's not like reaching up at all anymore.
Yeah, I would like to see having like NPCs act different at night. You know, like the city. Obviously, like for a video game, you can't have all the shops closed at night because that would just be kind of annoying and unnecessarily annoying. But you know, so that you wouldn't see as many just NPCs walking around doing their thing. You know, and also at night you can have events where, you know, it's like kind of talk about ESO where like NPCs will run up to you and be like, "Hey, adventurer, I need help with bandits or whatever the case may be. My house is on fire. Help me, please." At night, you as you're exploring the world, this farmer comes up and is like, bandits are attacking me. You must help me. And it creates a little event. You can go and do it. You know, and tying those to day and night cycle, I think that could be a good way to make the world feel more alive.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it was funny. A while back, there was a conversation floating around, and we talked about it on the show about corrupted players having almost like a nomadic caravan that cruises around the map, and that's like their only place that they can go and sell things and like clear out their bags or whatever. But it also creates a traveling targetable area for bounty hunters.
Chrome me.
So they can, like, bounty hunters could always look around, and if they see a ping of like a handful of corrupt people, they might have found the corrupt caravan. But how neat would it be if that traveled around by night?
Yeah, you can just follow it around and attack corrupt people. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
or if it like stayed in one place during the day but moved around at night, and you could see it as they were moving through, and corrupted people have to stay kind of almost on the road to follow along it while they're selling.
That'd be interesting. Speaking of that, Ash's official news for like the last bit of our segment here, before we get into the closing part of the segments, had the dev discussion number 44 on tank participation, and I am totally throwing Vertec under the bus on this, and I don't care.
What?
I was helping set up the forum thread for what we're talking about today, and I go upstairs, and I kid you not, Vertec has a post this long that he has sat there typing for like an hour or hour and a half. Just so much to say about tanking. So I'll let Vertec take the lead on this one.
Yeah, I sat down at the computer to look for topics to talk about today and look for conversations people are having, and that was the first thing I found, and I was like, all right, let me copy and paste that into the list of things we can talk about. And then my mind instantly latched onto it, and I could not look away, and I started reading posts. I was like, well, they said basically everything I want to say. I'll just add like my 2 cents real quick. An hour and a half later, I dropped like the 2 cents was given like $7 ago. But yeah, I basically said like, yes, things need to be much more dynamic for tanks, especially because it's one of the harder jobs until it becomes not hard at all. And what I mean by that is like, it's the hardest job to be undergeared for. Yeah, it's the hardest job to be undergeared for, absolutely bar none. Both in stress levels, in difficulty to complete your objective, in everything. It's the hardest job to be undergeared for. The second only to, or I guess the second one being healer. DPS is easy to be undergeared for. Just don't die. You get a 100% DPS boost if you just don't die. Easiest thing to do. But not that I'm making fun of DPS. It's just a joke. But yeah, keeping it more interesting, because after a while, as soon as they get geared, they've done the fight like 15 times and they know everything, and now they're geared before anybody else in the party is. and they still need to keep running the fight like 17 more times to get the rest of the raid party geared.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you always play tank, agree, disagree? You see it kind of the same way or no?
Yeah, I think you definitely get, tank loot priority is a thing. It's been the thing forever in most games.
And you're rolling against almost nobody.
Mm-hmm.
You've got maybe, in most games, you have you and the other tank. The other tank being that there's only 2, maybe 3 tanks in any given raid fight, right?
Otherwise, in dungeons and stuff, it's usually just 1 tank. So. Yeah.
And I kind of, I'm sure you saw it, I put that kind of on the show notes regarding this topic, because this is a topic that I've always played tanks, so it's something like, if given the freedom, we could probably sit here and talk for another hour just on this topic alone.
Right.
Oh man, I could have a tank discussion for an entire 5 episodes in a row. No problem.
Yeah, right. And my big thing with the whole tanks is like, I think, and I mentioned, funny you mentioned 2 tanks. Like one of the things I said, I call it the tank swap cop out, right? It's like, your dungeon has 1 tank. You create these raids that have multiple groups, and like you kind of have to facilitate multiple tanks. Otherwise, you have these other tanks running dungeons with other people that can't participate in the raid content. So you try and incorporate them both. But like most games do it so simple, where it's like every so often you have to swap aggro for X or Y reason, and most times it isn't a very engaging reason to do it, and it isn't really fun. Just okay, I got 5 stacks of debuffs, swap aggro. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's something that developers should really work on, designing fights to better facilitate more tanks in an engaging way.
Right.
Yeah, agreed. And that was my second point, is like, well, the second part of that first point, I guess, is you got to keep it interesting. Like, give their reasons for the tanks to need to interact with each other and build a strategy and execute things properly, or else no matter how big you are, you're going to fall.
Yeah.
Like the things are going to fall apart if you don't do things properly.
Yeah.
There's I think you guys have played Final Fantasy 14. There's I forget the name of the fight. I'm sure someone in chat knows, but there's a fight where like your tanks have to block an ability, and it's like a small, you basically spamming a button to block it, but like the boss drops this giant sword on top of your raid, and you basically go up your tank into position and blocks, and you're spamming a button, and it's something fun for a tank to do that only tanks can do, that just makes it really fun and engaging. It looks badass because your character is sitting there holding off this giant sword that's coming to destroy your raid. And I think Susano, I think that's what it is. Having those active time events make it a lot more fun for tanks. In these games, versus just maybe like tanks have specific abilities that have to counter certain things. Like maybe the boss does something to your healers, and your tank needs to go and cast some sort of intervene on the healer, or get in front of the healer and block to avoid them getting some sort of debuff that's going to reduce the healing or stun them. Mm-hmm. Versus, and that's why you bring 2 or 3 tanks, because you have more people who have this utility to defend people, versus we're just going to be swapping aggro every 30 seconds.
Right.
Yeah, and I know some people don't really like the active or quick time events or whatever, because just timing and delay or what have you. But I mean, they can be approximate time events and still be interactive and fun and more interesting than stand there and kick something in the kneecaps until it falls over.
Right, and use a quick time event to be a transition between phases, right? So like,
yeah,
it's there for a reason. It isn't just there the whole fight. Like something happening, you do a quick time event, and due to the quick time event succeeding, the floor breaks out. Now you're in a different room with different things happening, and now the fight is different.
Yeah, I was also mentioning in that post, like it's also going to be kind of vital to try to have more tanks in the raid that would be engaged in the actual fighting, because of going back to the gearing thing. You need to make sure that they stay basically the same, maybe a touch lower ratio of tanks to everybody else, so that you have the same ratio of rolling against enough other people that you don't get geared out in the first 4 runs, and then you have no reason to go there, so you lose interest or whatever after the 8th trip in. Oh,
I
no.
don't really have much to give on to the tank stuff because I don't tank. So
since you're a big tank player, and I didn't know this about you, Vertic, prior to like sitting down and talking to you tonight. My note there says, how does a traditional MMO tank fit into action combat? Like, what do you think of that?
Have you ever played WildStar?
Oh, dude, I love WildStar. Like, that's like the one game I wish wouldn't have died.
That was the one game where, or the first game where I've played PvP as a tank and felt useful.
Right.
I was actually able to... Terra? No, I did not.
Okay.
I'm guessing that was another one where tanks felt... Yeah.
Yeah, because you had the Lancers, right? And like you can watch a bunch of videos about this, but like you see a lot of fights, you'd have a wall of Lancers in the front holding a shield, because I think whenever anyone got attacked, the Lancer would basically stop the projectile. So like people could be safely behind their wall of tanks. And you see in PvP the wall rotating, and basically Lancers were more in the field. Like, they did some damage, but their biggest thing was they could pull people in, they could stun people. They basically were crowd control. So it made your role as a tank useful because you could bring someone into your group, stun them, and then your friends would kill them. And then like you look at World of Warcraft, like you play a tank in PvP, you're kind of useless for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
pretty much.
WildStar, I do agree. WildStar, playing a tank felt useful, and that's my biggest fear of playing a tank in Ashes, is that in most games, playing a tank in PvP and especially in action combat, like I don't see how no game has done it well where they fit in and it's fun to play.
Yeah, and that's the tricky part, is they're vital, they're needed like anybody else, and they actually are enjoyable to play whatever role you're assigned, rather than just being the guy that goes in and stuns people, because that's all you're good for. That's the only button you have that does anything influential, is you stun people and then they can't kill you.
Yeah.
That's your role in a lot of PvP. But yeah, something like WildStar where you go in and if you taunt somebody or something, then they do less damage to everybody but you. I feel useful just having that alone, far more useful than just going in and like, yay, I stunned him on a 30-second cooldown. I'll be good to go in another 25 seconds, guys. Meanwhile, I'm gonna, I don't know, because he's healing faster than I can hurt him. I'm gonna do something though. I'm gonna stand in his way and annoy him. Maybe I'll block his camera view of like the healer, I guess. But yeah, that's the big thing in PvP, is it, or action combat just in general, is just it needs to feel useful. Like PvE action combat, man, if you're standing right in front of a giant boss and you're just swinging, because that's what you do as a tank, is you stand in front of this giant thing and you look at its kneecaps and swing at its shins. The action combat is, I mean, you can't miss. You're going to hit every single time. You don't even need accuracy. You just need to sharpen your blade before you go into combat and you're good.
Right. I think it's a kind of a shame you missed Terra. Like, I think you might actually like Terra's PvE tanking. Because you had active block, right? And like when you didn't block attacks or block like the boss one shot, you would just get dumpstered. You'd get killed. And like a difference between a good tank and a bad tank was, a good tank would be able to take minimal damage by blocking most of the abilities while still holding aggro, right? And you had the opposite where you had tanks who hold aggro and would just get dumpstered the whole time, and your healers can't keep up, or tanks who like don't want to get hit or blocking and lose aggro to DPS. So I think that made it really fun, because you didn't have a button that just gave you aggro. Like, you had to fight for the aggro while balancing how much damage you're taking in by using your active block.
Yeah.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing, is definitely have some strategy to it. Make sure I need to think about what buttons I'm pushing. Make each button matter, instead of it just being hit because it's the next thing available, or it's the only thing available, or it's a pretty button and I don't have anything else to hit that really matters, so I'm going to hit the pretty button. It makes a sparkle or an explosion or whatever, but it doesn't really do much. Like, make each button matter, make me choose when to use it, because there will be a negative effect if I use it too often, or not often enough for that matter. Like, some things are worth saving until a dire moment, and that's the best time to save them. If you use them outside of that, you might be screwed if that dire moment comes up. But some things are made to use all the time, and that's fine, as long as that's the purpose of those buttons, is to make sure you're always actively using that button, because it makes such a big difference for you.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, there's so much you could say about tank stuff. But I don't think it really qualifies as speed round. But the last thing I did end up making on that thing is I always have to get it in every single time I can. Please change tank class name.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think tank is a good name for it.
It's because the story Steven gave that, you know, everybody just always says we need a tank, so why not just name it tank? That's what everybody calls it. Yeah, because there are so few tanks playing that they will take any tank, and they don't care what kind of tank they get. Just, we need a tank, any tank, even the worst tank for this situation, we'll take it. If you can get it right now, we'll take it.
That kind of reminds me of like, who's the tank, what's the mage, I don't know, is the priest.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, here you go.
Who's on first joke.
Let's see if this will paste out correctly. Or if it's going to jack it up because of format.
Just gonna call it tank anyway, is the justification. Yeah.
Yeah, but
well,
I mean, they do
they're always going to call it healer,
right? DPS
anyway.
And healer.
Yeah. I don't know.
There you go. Then why not just name all the classes tank, healer, caster, ranged, melee, stealth, pet class, support?
Yeah.
There you go. There's the class names. We got them all, guys. We got them all.
Right. That's basically, he's using the example of that. I mean, what you're typing out there is perfect to like, he's generalizing the tank, but like you can do it with all the other classes, but you didn't do it with all the other classes. So why do that to the tank?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what you call it. Like you already have a fighter, which is a melee. I don't know what you call
ranged.
Tank.
Yeah.
You got your stealth class, you got your pet class, you got your support class. How many raids have you been in where you're like, hey guys, we need more range. Does anybody know ranged? We got to get some melee out of here. Which melee? I don't care, any melee. We got to get them out of there. We have too many.
Yeah, I think the one saving grace to it though, while the base tank is called a tank, the combination with any other subclass is not. Yeah. So I think that's going to be where it's important, right? Because like a tank cleric's paladin, you know, a tank is a guardian, which is what you would think would be, like a tank would be called. So, well, I agree that, some of these are very basic. Maybe change my mind a little bit. I don't think it's that bad because you're going to be like, I'm not a tank, I'm a guardian, or I'm a night shield or a warden or whatever my class is called.
Yeah, that's when you can actually have some kind of pride of saying what you are. But like when somebody goes, oh, what the heck is that anyway? Oh, it's a tank. Oh, okay. tank.
Yeah, there you go. I think that goes perfect. Rename tank base class to guardian, and double guardian be something else. Yeah, Juggernaut, Dreadnought. Well, I think we already have a Dreadnought in there somewhere.
See, it's all we needed right there. But yeah, I try to get something mentioned in about that every time I can, because man, it's such a cringe thing. It's such a cringe thing. It makes me go, I don't want to say it. What class are you? I'm a tank class. But it's alright. It's alright. I could actually legitimately survive if it never changed, but I'm still gonna give him a hard time about it. Because, I always make fun of my friends. That's how you know I like you.
Yeah.
Hey, so, might be just about that time to start wrapping up. Unless you had some other stuff. Do you have anything else you wanted to bring up on the way out? I think that's all of our topics that we really...
Oh, totally. I remembered because I was reading this last night and I was thinking of what my the quality of life thing that I wanted to bring up, and I totally forgot to write it down in my notes. But like wardrobe system and like dual class is like my favorite thing. Yeah. Not dual class, but like dual spec.
Yeah.
As someone who doesn't like to play alts, usually stick to one character, being able to like swap out specs as needed is like super important for me.
Yeah, I like that. All right. Well,
Well, who to raid though?
That's a good question.
what are you folks thinking? Let's ask the viewers here who they'd like to go visit. Who would you like to be dropped off with for the
I was
next
looking
entertainment?
at Beck Altar because he's currently live and trying to catch up on dev updates.
You did come in just at the end. Yeah, there's also I mean, Redbeard's doing first time Pokemon. If you want to shift gears into a different topic. We have a super chill friend of ours, Eloa. I think she might be coming up on the end of her stream though. She's been streaming for like 11 hours already.
Yeah, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning for her.
Yeah.
Someone's streaming World of Tanks.
Overthrow says someone's streaming World of Tanks.
Mm-hmm. All goody, Roach. We start 2 hours ago.
Oh, and then we got some more doing Community Day where they play City of Heroes.
Yeah.
And
Honestly,
they invite pretty much anybody to come play with them.
Just let me know.
Alright. So far we got someone streaming World of Tanks. Yeah, City of Heroes is kind of being brought back to life by some people.
Mm-hmm.
Slowly, or at least they're trying. Yeah, they basically redid it, like Wickeslaw said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a total refresh. Alright, folks. Then, let's see.
Yeah, there's that one other person still has, that is Beck Altar doing some Ashes stuff, looks like.
Yeah. That's one of the options they're throwing out there is Beck Altar. It's either Beck Altar or Captain Redbeard. Me is thinking because Aloha I think is gonna be going to sleep here soon, and Samorg doesn't. I mean, we love some Sim. He's one of our older friends in the Ashes community, but I think the people with lower viewer counts need the help more. So we like to share the love and spread it to the smaller streamers when possible.
Oracle says I
and he
vote
knows
red.
this. Yeah. Okay. Well, we gotta vote for red. Well, whilst we start getting that raid ready, then I will say that it was great chatting with you, friend. New friend Hamlet. Time flew by. Great discussions. Love to have you on again at some point. But until then, do you have anything you would like to plug? Anything you'd like to tell the viewers before we ship on off?
No plugs here. Like maybe next time I'm on, I'll have some cool stuff that I've made that I can plug with. For the time being, I don't got anything that really specifically that I'm working on. So we'll leave it at that.
Invest in dinosaur futures.
Oh yeah, definitely invest in dinosaur futures. Doesn't have to be a thing. Like next time, if I'm back on, I have to wear a different shirt and I'll find a different background theme to fit that. You know, that'll be the new.
There you go.
That'll be the thing.
Yeah.
I had a blast talking to you guys. Definitely went a lot faster than I thought it would. You know, time flew for sure.
Oh, absolutely, it did.
It do.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Normally we have to run out of here before this time.
Yeah.
Oh no. Well, we'll have to let you get going before that happens. GB, did you have anything you wanted to share?
No.
All right. Well, then I just want to say to everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for all your chats and all of your conversations. We love seeing your viewpoints. We love hearing from you. Tech. Hearts go out to you, Pookie. I mean, hi. You could have been doing anything, anywhere, with your time. You spent it here. You don't get it back. We're keeping it forever, but we appreciate it. So until we see you next time, try and have yourself a happy day. We'll get ready and ship on over to Captain Redbeard.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.